Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. Today we are joined by Michele Dawson, who plays Nurse Debs in Halloween Ends, which premieres tomorrow, October 14th, in theaters nationwide and Peacock digital streaming. Michele, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, John.
I gotta ask you before we get started. I read that yesterday was the red carpet premiere in LA. Were you able to attend?
I was. Oh my goodness. It was so exciting. We were at the Chinese Theater, right smack in Hollywood. Epic, epic place. We actually had a black carpet that we
Oh,
walked on, which was super cool. There was tons of pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns. It was an amazing experience. And being able to see the movie for the first time on that huge IMAX screen in the massive theater was once in a lifetime sort of thing for me. It was amazing.
I can imagine. And so yesterday was the first time you saw the finished movie.
Yeah, it
So,
was.
I mean, your honest opinion, let's take you out. I mean, let's separate Nurse Deb, Michele Dawson, and put you in the seats as a regular fan. I loved the film. I saw it last week. What did you think of this film?
Oh my gosh, I was blown away. Blown away. Um, David Gordon Green, our director, and the whole team just did such a phenomenal job of pulling together this epic conclusion. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's 40 years in the making,
Yeah,
and I believe they did it perfectly.
me too.
I think they did it
Me too.
justice. It is epic. It's exciting. It's surprising. It's thrilling. I
And
loved
out
it.
of
Absolutely
all,
loved it.
in the 44-year history of this franchise, this movie has to be the deepest story and character driven movie out of them all. That's what really made an impact on me. The story, the way they wrapped it up, and I understand why they kept it such a secret, because if any bit of it leaked out, it really would have ruined it. And a lot of people are just chomping at the bit, starting midnight tonight to start lining up in the theaters and watch it. And it's so exciting. I mean, of course, not everybody's going to be in the way we feel, but I think the majority of people are just going to absolutely fall in love with this film. So let's get to your character. You play Nurse Deb. When you first read through your character, what were your feelings? How would you describe Nurse Deb?
Oh, Nurse Deb is fun. She's unfiltered. She kind of says whatever comes to her mind, and she kind of doesn't really care, or it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really bother her too much, like how it affects other people. She's very much kind of looks out for herself. She's aggressive, and she's playful.
And she's not afraid to do what it takes to climb up the career ladder. That's
Exactly. She's very driven character, very determined. Yeah, has her mind on herself.
Now, before booking this role, would you say you were a fan of this franchise before?
So I've always been someone who's been a little nervous of the dark and what lurks in the shadows,
Mm-hmm.
and so I can probably put on one hand the number of horror films I had seen previously, but then as soon as I booked it, of course, I like dove in, started with the original, and now I'm very familiar, of course, with the Halloween franchise, and I just think the films are so fun.
And you're not alone. I've interviewed a lot of people who are in horror movies, and a lot of them were not really into them. And it has no effect on how you do your job in a horror movie. But it's amazing once they get into a horror movie and get to experience it from, behind the scenes, it sort of takes a little bit away of that fright factor, and you get to enjoy the movie for what it really is. Was,
Definitely. And who knows, maybe that was something that played into it because I spook and scare so easily that maybe that's one reason, is it was very realistic for me to be in this type of movie because I was scared.
yeah. Now, James Jude Courtney and Nick Castle play Michael Myers. James handles the majority of the shape, of playing the shape. I could sort of tell which parts Nick was used for in the film. He has some iconic head tilt that we see from the first Halloween that they used in Halloween 2018. And I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I think that's what they used Nick for. When you were standing toe to toe with Michael Myers, and I assume the Michael Myers that you were standing in front of was James, is that accurate?
Well, I don't want to give any spoilers away, and obviously you've seen the film, but for, you know, our tens of millions of other fans who are still waiting to see the film, I don't want to spoil anything. And it's
No.
obvious from the trailer that I definitely have an encounter with someone
Yeah.
who's definitely wearing the mask.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I just don't want to spoil
Okay.
anything for anyone else.
Okay.
So we'll have to circle back to that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Was it intimidating for you standing face to face with that person wearing that Michael Myers mask?
That mask is terrifying. It's terrifying. I mean, so one of the places they had our chairs set up for us to, you know, sit in between takes was this room, and they had some of the props in there and the masks, and just the mask alone by itself, without anyone wearing it, is absolutely frightening to look
Yeah,
at, in my opinion.
it is.
So yes. So then when you have, as you can tell from the trailer, there's some force and a very tense situation my character is in, and yes, that was I was genuinely terrified.
So would you say that helped you get into the character, into the mode, into that scene that you were acting out to really bring out that fear factor in you?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, like, goodness. I mean, like, especially like the first couple of takes we did, it's like I would just see that. And I mean, it's the epitome of evil is what that mask represents. And so to see that coming at you, like with full force, and, you know, that stature, um, terrifying.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, the majority of your scenes are with Andy Matichak, who plays Allison, of course, and Michael O'Leary, who plays Dr. Mathis. They are your co-workers. You're a nurse. So is Allison. Allison is a nurse now. How do you think Nurse Deb, your character, feels about Allison?
So the way that I always kind of interpreted her was, I think that Nurse Deb, um, I think she would like to consider herself as someone who is, you know, a good friend in
Mm-hmm.
general. But I think that she kind of gets in her own way,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes. And like I was describing before, I think that she's just so uh self I don't
Motivated.
yeah, self-motivated, that kind of tops everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, she enjoys her work life for sure, and she definitely, I believe she enjoys the people that she works with, definitely.
I got a little hint that Nurse Deb might be a little bit envious of Allison, not because of the great stuff that's been happening to her over the last several years, because God knows the girl's been through hell, but the amount of attention she's been receiving. I think I just got the hint that your character might be jealous of Allison a little bit. Did it come across to you like that at all?
Um, not as much,
Mm-hmm.
not as much jealous, but you know what? I can see where there could be like a tinge of it, but I honestly think that she not that she doesn't give thought to Allison,
Yeah.
but that her thoughts are more about herself. So most anything else is just, you know, something that's, if it's outside her, I don't think she gives it a whole lot of thought.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that pay tribute to the original film in 1978, what I call throwback scenes. I thought that was a great thing. It sort of, for me, it brought things full circle. You said you watched all the movies. What did you think about David doing that and sort of bringing this final movie back to the first one in 1978?
Loved it.
Yeah,
Genius. I mean, isn't this what the fans want to see?
yeah.
I mean, I think it is. I think when you are doing a conclusion, a finale of a character's journey that has been, so long. I mean, it's the longest actor character pairing in Hollywood history.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're building a story around that, I think you have to nod back, to the original. You have to bring in those elements from the other movies so you can tie the whole thing together in this perfect little package. And I think it's just going to make fans so excited, to see those little Easter eggs all throughout the movie.
Was your experience, you already, mentioned this before, but working with David Gordon Green, were you just amazed at how he works behind the camera?
Yes, I mean he is a dream to work with. He's just such a cool, fun guy, and his I'm sure other people have spoken about this, but his the element of collaboration that he allows the actor to play, and then he comes up with all these great ideas just on the spot. He'll get inspired and come up with an idea, and then he'll run over and whisper it to you or whatever. And then honestly, it just makes for some of the best movies. Watching the film now and seeing all those little things that we added on set that weren't in the script originally, when I came to set
Yeah,
that day, and then all the fun things he just came up with. And a lot of them made it into the final cut of the movie. And you can
nice.
see why. I mean, he's just so whip smart on his feet and just so in tune with everything, with the whole picture of the movie, that then he's able to just enhance all the moments while you're filming.
So after
He's great.
spending a couple of days on set shooting, did did he just foster that environment to where you felt comfortable to make Nurse Deb your own character, make her your own?
So, I mean, I came in with a whole lot of, I had prepared a whole bunch and kind of developed that character really right off the bat
Hmm.
from my original audition. Like when I saw my original audition sides, I kind of created this character
Hmm.
of Nurse Deb, and then took that into the callbacks, and then as I started to learn more about the project, because I didn't even know when I first auditioned for this, I didn't even know what the movie was.
Oh, wow.
It was going by a fake name. It was going by the name Cave Dwellers, which I wasn't sure what that was.
Yeah.
I was like, is this sci-fi? So, I just took the sides and did the best I could with it, not exactly knowing the genre, created my character, and then of course, as I learned more, shifted things. And so then, as I got to set, I brought all that in with me, and then I just came ready. And ready to play and ready to take all David's direction. But yes, as the filming days progressed, obviously I became like more comfortable in the environment, more comfortable in Nurse Deb and Haddonfield and the world, and of course, like that always elevates the performance when you
Exactly.
get to that, yeah, when you get to that spot.
So,
But I loved working with David. I can't say enough about it, and I hope to work with him again.
so this film was done in Savannah, Georgia. How long were you there to get all your scenes shot?
So we shot earlier this year, January and February is when I shot, and I was I had about 5 full shooting days,
Mm-hmm.
but because of COVID and everything like that, I was down there a little bit longer. Like COVID testing and fittings and things like that. So yeah, I was down for about a week, the first round, and then went down again a couple weeks later to finish up for a couple of days.
Were you surprised at, your character is not a one scene character. It's a pretty significant character in the film. Were you surprised at how the longevity of Nurse Deb that she has in Halloween Ends?
Really? I mean, I mean, the funny thing was when I first auditioned for it, uh, that big scene that we've seen a lot in the trailer wasn't even in my audition. So, like the original one. And so for me, yeah, I mean, it was kind of the other things were a part of what I had seen for the character and
Yeah,
what I was going to be doing. But I will say I'm super, yeah, I'm so honored
yeah,
to be a part of this movie in general. And one scene, a couple of scenes, two scenes, three scenes, like in general, I'm super honored to be a part of it. And yeah, and to have a couple of fun scenes that carry throughout is really nice.
yeah. Michelle, you were really amazing in this film. It was very fun to watch you. I wish we could talk more about it, but then we can't give away any spoilers. The movie's coming out tomorrow. People are going to be lining up in the theaters, watching it at home on the Peacock digital streaming. So maybe we'll talk about it more some down the line. I want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your stories. Again, guys, the movie Halloween Ends tomorrow, October 14th, in theaters nationwide and on Peacock digital streaming. If you're a Halloween fan, I know you won't miss it. Check it out. See Michelle here as Nurse Deb and see the conclusion of how they are going to wrap up this 44-year story. I mean, it's so many twists, turns, character development, deep story. It's going to keep you captivated the whole way through. Thank you, Michelle. Do you have any
Thank you so
fun?
much for having me.
It is my pleasure. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
Oh my gosh, I just can't wait for everybody to see this movie. It's surprising, it's thrilling. Um, at the premiere, people were clapping, people were on their feet, and I hope that that's happening in theater. I know it's going to
Oh,
happen
yeah.
in theaters everywhere because this movie, epic conclusion.
And you know, after tomorrow, your message box is going to explode.
Welcome it. I welcome it.
Absolutely. I want to thank our audience, those of you who are tuning in live, and those of you who'll be watching this later on. On behalf of Michele Dawson and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Bye, everybody.